Okay, hubs and authorities. Let's finish with this. So this is a better idea, and it's actually something I show at the end of linear algebra because it's awesome. So we're going to have two attributes now. One is an authority, like how much a person or a web page or whatever it is knows about a topic, and then hubness, or whatever you want to call it. And this is how well a node knows where to find things, right? And if you remember the red balloons, the red balloons captures this, the red balloon search captures this beautifully, right? Because you want people to be able to connect to find the people who find the actual thing, and the authorities are the actual finders, the knowledge. Now, of course, nodes have both of these characteristics, right? And early on with the web, there was a sense that you had pointer pages that just said, if you're interested in fish, here's a list of fish pages. And like actual fish, not the band, right? But there'll be also the band one, right? They just point to it, so they're sort of signposts. And things were structured a little bit like that because it was quite useful. But then you look at how things have evolved. Something like the Wikipedia, right, is authority, and then it's got links to all sorts of other stuff, and the web is like this in general. But they represent they give you a good example of something that has hubness and authority. So they're going to have a couple of values. So John Kleinberg is the person behind this. He did it at IBM. When he was there for a year, he's a MacArthur Genius guy. He's at Cornell, really nice guy. And I have this sense that what happened was IBM said, this is a great idea, we'll license it, right? At the same time, Page and Brin came up with basically the same sort of thing with PageRank and just made a company and kind of took off. So, but I have this sort of sense of this that they just sort of they put their best people on it and they wheeled it off into a large warehouse in a box next to other important things. Anyway, so best hubs point to the best authorities. That's going to be a part of this, and the best authorities will be pointed to by the best hubs. Is the idea, right? And it's going to be recursive. So it's going to have this whole thing. Okay. And we want to see, these dense links because a really good set of hubs. They're going to be pointing to the same sense of authority. Now, this was really fantastic early on, right? And PageRank was just magnificent because it's a socio-technical thing, right? People actually made meaningful links between pages. They were doing it. Humans were doing it. Of course, it took a lot longer to game that system. It was very easy to game the early search engines because they just went to a page that mentioned fish a lot was a page that was good for fish, right? That was sort of basically how it worked. It was just content. But this works on the network structure, which is a harder thing to game. But of course, then we ended up with link farms, and people became pretty sophisticated at making everything point and look real. It's an arms race, and it had to happen. And all the sort of bots and craziness that we have on social media are sort of part of this as well, in terms of making it look like there's actual real humans out there. Okay, anyway, this worked fantastically early on. It's known as the HITS algorithm. I guess that's okay. Hyperlink-induced topic search. People were only just sort of, this is the 1990s, right? People are like, oh, look at this. So we're going to have two things. There's going to be authority score, which will sort of be our generalization, connects back to importance, and hubtasticness. So they've got two things, and then we're going to connect them. It's going to be a new story. Oh, that should be no, I guess it's okay. So it's going to be a linear thing again, which you could think, well, maybe, whatever. You could change this in different ways. You could have a power here in some way, but of course it's linear. It means we can solve things nicely. So xi should increase as a function of this, right? So if j points to I and y's, right? So that's just a 1 or a 0. J points to I, and y's hub score is, the higher y's hub score is, the better for x, right? So this is a good hub points to a good authority. And if many good hubs point to you, lots of high y scores here, then that will increase your score. So that's one thing we have now. Directed link to I. And then we have another one, which is that y will also increase, right? So y goes up if it points to, so this is yi, if I points to j, and it's pointing to a good authority, right? So if you're pointing to a bunch of terrible authorities, they've all got zeros, then you get a 0 here. And if all the people that point to you crazy, right? They don't know what they're talking about with respect to fish. You don't do well. All right, so linearity, just as we had before, these are matrix multiplication things. This one is x is proportional to, that's an A transpose, right? Should be ij. And this is A times x. So let's see. So we have x, top one is x is proportional to A transpose y, and then y is proportional to A times x. So that's pretty exciting. It's 2 steps now, right? So what we're going to do is take this character and stick it in here, and then we get A transpose A times x, which is very exciting. Okay, so we're going to have these things. Let's say we have these constant proportionality, the positive things. We're just going to stick them together, as I said, for something, right? So now we have x, and instead of just A transpose as we had before, we're going to have lambda A transpose A. So this blob here is quite spectacular, right? Symmetric, all these good things. It's singular value decompositions hot, right? Yes. Which is a great endpoint for a course in linear algebra. Really a beautiful thing. You know, principal component analysis, right? PCA, all these sorts of things. It's slightly different, but it's the same idea. Okay, so we know there are so many good things here. It's symmetric, so we get all sorts of great things out of that, right? Orthogonal eigenvectors and blah, blah, blah. We get positive eigenvalues for sure. So it's symmetric, it's semi-positive definite, so its eigenvalues are all greater than or equal to 0. The square, it's the square of A singular values. We have an orthogonal basis, which is magnificent. And then we get this, right? So we can also choose this dominant eigenvector. The dominant eigenvalue is eigenvector so that it has non-negative entries. That's awesome. So we get a solvable solution, solvable system. Yeah, I don't know if this has been done. It'd be nice to do that. We know that it functions pretty well because Google type things and so on did pretty well, right? I mean, so there's definitely a pragmatic aspect to it. If you're going to do this for people in networks, you know, is someone 3 times as more? I don't know. That's harder to understand. But it certainly gives us a powerful ranking. And that's ultimately, you know, if you're presenting to people a list of things, pretty good. But you'd also like to be able to say, you know, you really don't need to bother with, you know, like nodes, you know, 4 onwards, right? They really don't matter too much. Okay, so centrality. So it's yeah. I mean, the intention is good, right? But it's just a sort of a hard thing to do well. Right, people, you know, because it sounds great, like eigenvalue centrality sounds like you're doing something like it's rocket surgery, right? So you're going to go with it. Anyway, as I said, they can be pretty useful. As we get to structure detection, we'll see it come back again, particularly the betweenness stuff. Yeah, focus on nodes, right? So you could lift this up and say which groups are the most important. And I'm sure someone's done that because of the insanity of things, but that would be better too. But you know, what are the 3 most important nodes, like as a group in terms of how this thing functions? That's just a harder question. What are the 23 most important ones? Okay, good. All right, so it's just a big deal. It's going to be sitting in stuff that you use, and you can just push buttons to get it to work, which I don't really advise. But let's start on this.